I don't think you have bags under your eyes.
I can see him like right here, real defined.
What age were you when those came out?
When I started getting bags under my eyes, I was saying my
Yeah.
mid-20s.
Yeah. You feel you get swollen the more you drink?
No, because my wedding ring would get tight.
It's coming.
I feel like my thing is that I don't sleep a lot.
T-minus 5 years. It's all coming.
I know. I got that life clock. Keeps ticking down.
All right, man. You want to start? We know this is episode 8 this time.
Well, hello, guys. It's been a minute. It's episode 8 of the Modern Boomer podcast. I feel like I have been everywhere other than home. And when I'm at home, I feel like I'm busy nonstop. So this is actually kind of nice to sit at my desk in my office and do this. But yeah, so here are episode 8. And I know you've been super busy.
Oh my God. It's horrible.
Like family?
It's family. I got kids going off to college. We had to fly out to Indiana. We just went on a trip. We can talk about that later, on vacation. And the one thing about, being an ER doctor is when you don't get PTO, you don't get vacation time. I've never had that in my professional life. I don't even know what that is. Everybody knows what that is. I don't know what that is. But so when you work 12, 13, 15 shifts a month, which is pretty typical for emergency medicine because they're greater than 8-hour shifts. If you want to take a week off, then you've got to basically work all your time around that week. So you got to fit a month's worth of shifts in 1 month minus the week that you took off. So the summer is like that a lot. So you got like a whole lot less time to do what you want to do, like outside of, going away and going to work, but like hobbies like this or gaming or whatnot. It's just not a lot of time.
Right. Well, I mean, that's partially where I'm assuming the big bucks come from. Outside of saving lives, it's the incredibly long and distraught hours that you guys have to work.
It is. And when I did this, I was like, listen, I want my free time to be mine, and I'll go in and do my work time. And this is like one of the few jobs in medicine that allow that. I mean, you're pure shift work. You go in, you punch in. You don't really punch in, but figuratively, you punch in. You do your work, and when you're done, you're like the blackjack dealer. Good luck. You step out. So it's a great thing.
With your bicycle helmet, right? As Flacco.
Right.
Flacco.
Yeah. With my bike on my shoulder.
Yeah.
That guy's
snowboarding
great.
home. I do like his videos. It's funny because every time I watch him, it reminds me of you. He's doing one right now, a series of rural medicine, where he's like, "What's the farmer pain scale?" And he's like, "I'm here, ain't it?" And he's like, "Oh my God, like
that's horrible."
Get my crash bag or whatever he says. You know what I mean?
That's true because I'll tell you, I trained in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a lot of farms, and I remember they brought a kid in who had he had to be like 14. He had no blood pressure.
Okay.
And he no blood pressure at all, and he was pale. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened to him? And he's like, well, the dad is like, he got kicked by a mule. I'm like, he got kicked by a mule.
Where?
Yeah. And then he basically got kicked by a mule in the morning, did all of his chores, and he's like, his spleen had fractured. So he was bleeding into his belly.
Oh.
And he literally did chores the whole day, this kid, with bleeding into his belly. And then he went to eat dinner and passed out at the dinner table from blood loss. So again, when farmers come to the hospital, it's bad.
That's crazy.
I swear I'm going to write a book. Totally off topic. Well, on and off topic. I'm going to dictate these stories and I'm just going to put them into a book.
You should, because
I definitely have to.
I've never been kicked by a mule, but I've been in accidents and smushed between cars and all sorts of stupid stuff that happens. And never once I was like, let me do 12 hours of labor intensive chores where I'm bleeding into my abdomen, where I'm putting pressure doing said chores. And then I'm going to go sit down and try to have a meal.
And that's like a young teenager.
And Dad probably taught him to stop being a little, stop being a girl. You're
Right.
fine. Didn't kick you
Right.
that bad. And he's like, half his ribs are broken.
So what's going on with you're moving?
I am moving. So
What's going on with that?
we're gonna move. We're gonna move a little closer to just where the career center is to minimize commute.
Mhm.
Plus down here, there's just not a lot of options for renting that aren't either very much student oriented or just a mix. And the more rural we get, we start getting kind of like your oil field worker and rent like that, and a mix of like young
Mhm.
guys and stuff. So like we're just gonna get away from the college area, get closer to the career areas to reduce commuting. So the city of Broomfield was actually is a city and a county for whatever
How
reason.
about that?
It was like an unincorporated area of a couple different towns, and they're like, oh, we're gonna take all this little land and we're gonna make it the county and a city, and they did that. And it's
Okay.
it's a pretty nice area. It's being developed like every other part of Colorado, but it's a little southwest, and it's just a nice clean, I would say kind of a more modernized area that's just recently developed. The apartments we're moving, the place we're moving into is actually like a townhome style with attached garage, which is
Nice.
great for me because I'd like to do my projects in the garage.
Mhm.
And it's a nice area where like we're not anywhere near Denver or a populated city area, but we have two major freeways that we can jump on and be in Denver in less than 20 minutes.
That's
and
great.
then if we get on the sub roads, which is about 10 minutes, we could be at every kind of restaurant and little bar, coffee shop, whatever. Not that, I'd like to go out and find random coffee shops to sit at, but it's not too bad. And then for my friends up here, there's a couple little side freeways that I can take that I can be up here in 30 minutes flat.
So you're
with
moving
internet.
about a half hour away.
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes. It's about 45 minutes away, but
That's awesome.
yeah, it's not bad. It's I'm trying to be positive about it because I'm one of those weird guys who grew up in this area, and then I'm like, oh, I like this area, I don't want to move. I know a lot of people grow up in an area and they're like, I can't wait to get out of here. But I like the Northern Colorado area, so I'm a little bummed. But we're not that far away. It's actually a good place to be because it's not Denver, but it's not Northern Colorado. We're in the middle, and it's freshly developed, so everything's nice and fresh and new. And we're outside of the Denver filth. Sorry, Denverites.
Sorry, Denver.
And we're not so far north that we're touching Wyoming, so it's good. It'll be exciting.
Right.
It's Broomfield's always been a nice area.
And
so
how
I'm
long until you do
excited.
that?
October 1st. We'll move in October 1st.
Not that much
But-
longer.
No, I will. We'll get movers. We'll get movers to come down and move us, or at least load the truck. Because I think we have an issue where the apartment's not going to be ready the day we have to leave this unit. So I think we're going
Okay.
to load the truck up and stay somewhere for just the night. But I'm going to talk to the apartments. It's really, 24 hours going to make that much of a difference.
Right.
So and see if they're willing to be lenient with us.
Hopefully.
I mean, for how much these places cost, come on, hook a brother up, moving in on a Sunday.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait. I mean, I pay $26,000 in taxes where I'm at right now in North Jersey, and as soon as
It's a
my
lot of money,
kids
people.
as soon as my kids go to school,
Yeah,
I'm heading out.
you don't
But
need that big house like that.
No, but moving is it's such a freaking process, and I got so much crap. I'd love to throw half of it away.
I think, and so that's actually kind of what I like to do every time I've moved, no matter if it's been just by myself or with roommates or significant other. Anytime I'm moving, I take this time to really evaluate stuff that I want to take with me.
Right.
And I think a lot of times people are not naturally filthy people, but you get so much clutter that you end up just having stuff everywhere, and then
Right.
you want to buy more things or whatever you want to do. Papa Elon or Papa Bezos and his Amazon, conglomerate that just delivers to your door. So I like to go through and go, hey, this box has been sitting here unopened the whole time I've lived in this apartment. Okay, that's 3 years that this box has been open. What's in here? What do I need? I don't. There's nothing in there I need. And maybe there's some papers or like a picture or something I want, and that's fine. but I will throw 99.9% of that stuff away because that closet's got a bunch of tech boxes and stuff that I usually keep for returns that can't even be returned now. And so I'll throw all of that away. And then, ends up not being too big of a deal when it comes to the moving time. But I will say the best money I've ever spent, the best money I've ever spent is on movers. It's always been on movers.
Yeah. Have you found that, do you like get a dumpster when you're moving and or do you create that much garbage?
When I wouldn't say that much. I mean, like I said, we're being in an apartment complex. No matter if I've been, even when I was living in kind of like your lower class student apartments or even in luxury apartments, we always have big dumpster areas. And you can, like, people put furniture in this because they're in closed areas all the time, and the dump truck or the trash company comes and just crushes it into a cube in the truck and takes it away. So we never had to do but like, I don't really have that much garbage. I think I have one big server rack in there that I'm going to take to the dump just because I don't want to put it out on the side and be worried about a potential fine. And additionally, like, my buddy will show up in his truck, we'll get it loaded and have it in a dump in 45 minutes. It's just 250 pounds. So getting it down the stairs, 3 flights of stairs is going to suck, but we got it up. We can get it down. And the dump fee is only like a couple bucks. So I'm not too worried about it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but outside that, no, we don't love trash.
In New Jersey, it's like $30 to $40 every time you want to just throw something away that won't just fit in a can. So if you have like an exercise machine or a bike or something like that, they just want
a lot
of money.
If we were at a house, I think Waste Management has some things like that. But I don't know. That's in, a lot of my friends who have homes, they've thrown away pieces of furniture and it's been, they haven't ever beat them down about it. But I do know you can get fined or feed. You can pay a fee. You can find and fee. You can pay a fee, but in an apartment, no, because they're huge dumpsters. So I think it's just part of the contract they have with the apartment complex.
Oh,
so,
good.
That's my guess.
Right.
So moving.
I've been watching your bike vlog, both on this channel as well as your own channel. I haven't seen anything in a little bit. What's going on?
Well, so the first part is that my buddy Zach, we call him the old Howitzer Hoosier. His last name is Hoosier, kind of like the tires for those who are race people. But him and I talk on these voice comms together, and I ride with him more often than not. And so for a while there, you could hear me talking and having a conversation with him, but you could not really tell what he was saying because my mic wasn't picking up my headset. So I bought all these adapters and I tried all this stuff so I could feed my headset into the GoPro, but like this GoPro only lets you do like one per channel. And I finally got it going, but it was sloppy and it didn't sound great. And that kind of killed it. And so then I was like, Zach, send me your GoPro audio because your Bluetooth stuff goes to your GoPro. Well, it doesn't anymore because he's talking to me on the intercom. So like there was just a bunch of stuff. So I ended up just doing like, I wanted to learn Premiere, so I was just doing like these kind of cringy GoPro special videos, and I have a ton of mountain footage that I plan to do stuff over, which I posted one previously on our channel, and people were like, "This is fantastic." I put it on Reddit, which is something I never do, and they were like, "Oh, I love the footage, but the music ruined it for me." So it's like, okay, so now I got to come up with a better approach, maybe just the sound of the bike, which, believe it or not, people ask for often. So yeah, I don't know. I want to do the vlogs again. We've talked about doing it. But I just when I'm up in the mountains or if I'm doing that stuff, I really can't think of a conversation and focus on what I'm doing all the time. And since my commuting is often with a group of people, I don't have the ability to talk to myself. So it's been a little weird there. I still want to do the moto vlog stuff, but the season's coming to an end. The riding season's only got a month or two left, probably about 2 months left. But next season, I'm going to try to come up with a plan because being out away from everybody, only time I'll be riding and hanging out with my friends is going to be for the gym and on the weekends to do the mountain rides. So I'm thinking I could probably do something in the evenings, do some recording, especially being right next to Left Hand Canyon and the Flatirons from Boulder and things like that. People might be interested in that. So we'll revisit. I'm going to do a bike restoration in the wintertime too. So. Oh,
cool. I thought that was, I thought it was more due to what the recent predicaments you've been having with your bike were.
So my bike, Ducati, trying to be the special princess that they are as a company. Love them. My bike has what they call a dry clutch. And for most people in your car or your automatic transmission, you have friction plates and you have steel plates, and they get mated together, and that allows your car to move forward. But yeah, so most people know how clutch works, but friction plate, steel plate, and they slowly come together, and they have some ability to slide, and at some point with enough pressure, they can't slide anymore, and that connects power, right? And there's fluid encompassing that, and that keeps those plates cool, right? And it helps with the friction, helps everything going on. Dry clutches have no oil in it, and Ducati does this for MotoGP so that the oil doesn't get dirtier quicker. The coolant is not being heated up by the clutch, and this helps with, and also there's no centrifugal drag from oil being flung around, which, believe it or not, it takes about 5 horsepower out of a bike. And when you're talking MotoGP, 5 to 10 horsepower can be significant. So that's where the dry clutch come from. And for you Ducati guys, it sounds like somebody put a bottle of screws in a dryer when it's just rattling away. And that's the plates kind of jumping. Anyways, it's serviced about 2,500 miles until they need to be replaced, until they give out. I got 3,200 out of mine, and I was in the mountains. I was in a canyon doing my carving, and all of a sudden my clutch decided it didn't want to be a clutch anymore. It wanted to be just consistently in neutral. And it wasn't really present at low speeds, but if I got on the throttle, I'd see my RPMs rap, I'd hear the bike rap, but the bike wouldn't go anywhere. And not having a dry clutch before, I thought my tire was slipping. So I was getting a little anxious in the mountains going, why are my tires slipping so aggressively? And I have a kind of a nice brand called Pirelli. Not kind of, they are. It's a good brand of tire. They don't do that. But it was freaking me out. And then we got down and I realized that my clutch is just spinning. And so I had to get the plates overnighted from shout out to Moto Million. I know we're not sponsored by them, but Manny over at Moto Million has been great to me. He was the only one I could find that had it in stock. I mean, I called like Warhorse Racing out of New York, which do like a World Superbike for America, their Ducati team. They didn't have any in stock. So Manny did. And he had them in my hands in literally a day. So I got it installed. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, which makes sense. It's supposed to be. But so yeah, so that's good. But in addition to that, I got off the mountain. This is a different time. I got off the mountain and I was meeting up with some family at a winery. And this winery it's kind of out in the boonies. It's a pinky out winery.
Oh yeah.
And they're mostly a wedding venue, and there's actually a wedding showing up there, and it's a very nice winery. It's a very beautiful place, but it's kind of hoity-toity. And I showed up and I parked the bike next to another motorcycle. Now understand that this winery has no concrete or asphalt other than the plat around the building the building sitting on in some of the dock area. Outside that, it's this mulched asphalt gravel, which that's fine. So I got some rocks. I packed some rocks on the kickstand. I did the wiggle test to make sure it wasn't sinking. Nothing sinking. Locked my bars. Checked again. Nothing. Good to go. Walked away. I not thought to myself, in about 30 minutes, I'm going to come out and I'll check on the bike again just to make sure in a hot day. It wasn't but 15 minutes gone by, maybe 20 minutes tops. And the owner of the winery, who is a rider, he had a beautiful Indian. He came out and said, "Hey, your bike is leaning quite a bit, and I want to let you know so you can go out there and pick it up." And when I went out there, it was not leaning, it was on its side. And I cried internally, and I wanted to flip tables and go postal and, like punch the first person next to me, which would have been a small child, but that's okay. And so I was really mad because at first I was like, oh, it must have sunk in the ground. But when I looked at the pictures I took for my own purposes, it wasn't that deep. It looked like what had happened is that, and I don't know, the guy didn't have any parking lot camera footage, which is understandable. It's a small winery. And I just don't know what happened. I don't know if it got bumped. And the weird part about it is Ducati has a black box in their bikes, just like a plane that detects.
Do they really?
Yeah. So when you crash, it's recorded in that black box. And I have a special piece of software, an analyzer tool that I use for track riding that reads black box data, and the flag for a layover for like any sort of aggressive toppling of the bike was set to 0, which tells me that it must have slowly sank, but it didn't look like it done that because the hole in the ground wasn't conducive with the rock. I know it was weird. I couldn't really figure it out. Nonetheless, the bike didn't have any damage other than the rear fairing, which if you look at a bike, they have like behind the seat, there's like this plastic fairing piece, and there's a taillight underneath that. Well, because I was parked next to this concrete plat where the owner had his bike, my plastic piece just nicked the corner of the concrete and broke the taillight and the plastic fairing on the bike, which cost me $888 and some change to fix.
How much?
$888. I could
I
actually
thought
tell
you
you a
said
phone number.
I thought you said $188, and I'm like, it's got to be more than that. But I didn't
No, no, no,
expect it
no.
to be
Yeah, no.
800.
It was. Uh, give me a second. I can tell you what it was. It was.
Don't make it more than that.
Shout out to Ducati Omaha. They've been amazing to me as well. Let's see. $855.93, and that's with a $25 service account discount that I have through them for a rear fairing ×1 and a tail light. The rear fairing on that bike, just the plastic piece on the seat, was $564.94, and the singular tail light was $315.99.
License to steal.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, don't crash your Ferrari,
Yeah, man.
So
It's OEM parts.
I just, and the thing is, it's like the price doesn't bother me because I expect to pay these things. I didn't buy the bike thinking that I would never have to pay any sort of repair. I mean, it's a track bike, it's a mountain bike. At some point, I will lay it over. It's got every safety feature, and I will have to fix things, repair, and that's fine. But it just sucks because, like, I didn't do anything, and I went through even the additional steps to pack rocks and make sure it wasn't tilting, and had a timer on my phone for 30 minutes to go out there and check on it, and just something happened, and I don't know how in 15 minutes it could go from being not budging at all to laying on its side. So that was hard to walk out and see something like that. That hurt quite a bit. But I'll say that bike's good. It's running great. Even with the broken fairing, I was able to kind of get it mangled together and glued and in a place that people didn't even notice it at first until I said something. But I know it. My heart breaks while my tail light is broken. But no, it's doing good. So bummed out about that. But
you and I are very much the same with like being super like anal about having things not have problems.
Yeah.
And I think I may have told you this story, but I mean, when the iPhone, I want to say it's the 3GS, that was like the first iPhone.
Yeah, that was a while back.
That was like one of the first iPhones that I think went over to Verizon. But I had it on AT&T. I switched just to get the iPhone. And the back of the iPhone was plastic. It was black. It was gloss black.
Remember that.
The front of it had it had a silver ring, and then of course the screen. And I kept my phone inside a case every day without fail. Without fail. Except one day. I took the thing out. I cleaned it. I found, you have the terry cloth wrap, and I'm like, hey, while I'm here, I'll pop it out, wipe it out, put it down, went on my day, and then I realized, jeez, I got to work tonight. And I was rushing, and I grabbed my phone, and I didn't know where I put the case.
No.
I must have misplaced it. So I'm like, I'll just go to work. So I went to work, no problem, went the whole 12-hour shift overnight, walking out to my car in the morning, go to the parking lot, have my laptop bag. I usually take my computer with me, go to put it in the trunk, and my phone flips out of my pocket, falls, and lands not screen down, but backside down.
Plastic down.
On the pavement. I pick it up. It's like there's nicks and scratches and tears throughout the whole thing. Now it's not a Ducati, but
it's a nice piece of equipment, right?
So like I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, I can't deal with it being beat up.
No,
can't deal with it. So I eventually, after like a couple weeks, went on eBay and found somebody who had like access to some part. I don't know, probably wasn't OEM, but it was close enough that you couldn't tell. It had the Apple logo on the back.
Maybe Chinese farm from recycle, yeah.
That was back when the phones had like their size on it, like 16 gigabytes, 32 on the back.
Yeah.
So I had to get the right one. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just pop the back off, buy the new one, snap the back on. We're good.
It's never that easy.
Yeah. So I get the piece down. I unscrew the two screws down by the lightning port, or it wasn't the lightning port. It was that wider jack at the
30,
time.
The 30 pin, yeah.
Dude, every fucking piece of that phone was screwed into that back.
Yeah.
Like everything. The screen is what came off, and the entire guts of the phone is in this black piece, like taped and screwed in it. And I sat there and I took my phone apart piece by piece on my kitchen table. I had all the little screws laid out. And I remember seeing it laid out on the table, and I'm like, this is never going to go back together.
Or work right ever again.
And I did. I got it back together. I don't know how I did it. I had like one of these
Patience.
little, at the time. Now you have like kits you can buy,
Right.
for your phone. But that was like,
Right.
You're looking at like sunglasses, screwdrivers, and all these like little, because you didn't have all those tools back then.
Yeah.
And
No, I fix it kits.
And now you're right. No, I fix it kits. And now I had to put the whole thing back together. My ex-wife now, but my wife at the time is like, you are an idiot. You're going to have to buy a new phone. Like, this is like, it was scattered like all over a whole table.
I'll show you, woman.
By 5 a.m. of constant work and 8 hours of YouTube video watching, I got it back together. Feeling.
Yeah, for those who don't take on, like, for these large projects, they can be so over encumbering. But I'm assuming that doctor patience kicked in, and you're like, just one piece at a time. And for those who are getting started on that, take pictures as you go. That's what I do every time I've had to take a bike apart or engine apart or whatever. I'll take pictures of my steps, and then can go back and reference it.
Except my picture was my phone, and
the phone's broken.
Yeah. So it didn't work out in that respect. But yeah.
Well, that scenario.
And I get stubborn because, and I actually just got in trouble for this just the other day. She's like, you're tired. And I had a cold. I didn't feel good. I wanted to go to sleep. She's like, why are you going to bed at this hour? I said, because I have this many things to do. And I'm telling myself I will not go to bed until these things are finished.
I'm the same way.
And the phone was no different. I stayed up like an entire day because I'm like, nope, nothing happens until this is back together.
Yeah.
And then I just like put my head down and just do it.
There's something to that. I wonder if it's like a derivative of like a work ethic or mentality or whatever. But like, I've been the kind of guy where something would break on my truck or anything. I mean, as far as I can remember, and I've had girlfriends think I'm so weird because at 2 a.m, I'm gonna like get up out of bed or whatever because I can't sleep, and I'm gonna go take pictures of what's broken so that I can sit on my phone and do research on how to fix it until I have a solution in my mind, because I can't do it right now. I don't have the stuff that I need. Until I have a solution in my mind,
you have a plan. Yeah,
I'm anxious about it. I mean, it's just what it was. It's horrible. Same
exact way. My ex used to freaking hate that I did that.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't say it's a great thing because then we're miserable. It's a prison of torment, mental torment. But things get done right. They get done fast.
They get done.
Know what I mean?
And they don't get put off. But that's why she's an ex. Well, speaking of that,
no
more alimony.
Congratulations. I wish we'll have to drink a whiskey in the weekend for that one.
So
now you can buy a Ducati.
Right. That's the thing. So for everybody out there, just so you know, alimony is real. It's impressive. It can be impressive. And, it can really hit your wallet super hard. And there's a lot of variable ways of calculating alimony, but the typical way is usually it's 1/3 the difference of your 2 salaries. So whoever earns more, take 1/3 of that, and then that amount is typically paid over anywhere between 40 and 70% of the length of the marriage.
I just don't understand it. I never understood alimony, especially in modern times of equality and things like that. People make this, in the 50s, in the 60s, and the 70s, and, maybe the 80s, I can get where, if a woman, you may feel pressured to be the homemaker and do those things, and the world wouldn't cater to the working force women, and I respect that. I get it. But in modern times, nobody can force you to be anything you don't want to be. It's a mutual decision. And so if a relationship fails, now infidelity and things like that, I maybe you have an arguing point, but if it just doesn't work and you guys have that handshake, even though it's not really a handshake, I never understood it. You know what I mean? Let's go on our own. Why we want to be attached in some way. I never figured that out. So
I mean, the argument often is
the life you gave him, right? Something like that.
Well, there's the marital standard. That's the first thing. and that, especially when there's kids involved, you want to try to keep the marital standard as close as you can for the sake of the children. And I don't necessarily disagree with that at all. But the other part is that the marital standard could work against you in the fact that, like, I chose to work full time, and my ex chose to work part time, and
still a doctor
to help raise. She's still a doctor, but to help raise the kids, and that's great. And I understand that. And then there's the other statement that they can say, the other spouse made sacrifices so that you can be successful. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that these things are what's the word? Not defined or explained, maybe justified. I don't know. But
I mean, every scenario is different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I don't want to say that every scenario is like mine, but if you are, if your spouse doesn't work at all, then, if they're stay at home husband or wife, I mean, and you make, cause you feel like, well, I make enough money for both of us. If things don't go right, that's going to be a big hit.
I'd argue that a lot of people say, oh, just don't get married. And I would say that's a funny joke between men, and there's a lot of truth in it, but I think it's more about make sure who you're marrying. Right. Because relationships can fail for all sorts of reasons, and you want to make sure that the person you're with, because it's obviously emotional one way or another, whoever's going on. But if it fails for, and usually a failed marriage is one person's fault or both in one way, you know what I mean? And you want to make sure the person you're with is a logical person who, despite emotions, may still evaluate the situation and understand that, a firm handshake, let's, and I don't know, as a man too, and I guess my thing is I've always just, every time I've had a failed relationship, never had a failed marriage, but every time I've had a failed relationship, some of them felt like marriages, I just gave everything away. Take all the furniture, take all the stuff, take everything we have. I'm gonna take whatever money's in the bank account that's not in a separate savings or something. And that's a different topic, but and go on our way. And I'm not gonna. And I'll move out. You stay here, and we'll go that way. And I can rebuild. Don't bother me to buy couches or furniture. That's easy,
Right.
Just make sure you know who you're marrying. That's important to do. It's important to really, don't get married in 6 months. Right. But I guess some people, you never know. I guess you'll never know until that time comes,
And people, because people can get really ugly. I mean, just think about when you hear about people who get families when, like, somebody in their family dies and maybe they have a lot of money, and the kids or the nieces and nephews are like going at each other's throat. Some people never talk to other people again. Oh, well, so I do this for a living, and Uncle Rob only gave me X amount of money because, I don't need it. And then, Joey, who hasn't done anything their whole life, he gets all this extra money. So it's my fault that I took care of you hear these arguments, and it's like, it just gets so ugly.
It's entitlement. At the end of the day, it's entitlement. At the end of the, no matter how it's looked, it's entitlement. And I've never figured that out. Nobody's entitled to anything. So take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. Take that, put it in your pocket.
So I guess, I understand alimony, and I don't want this to come away as that I don't think that alimony is something that's BS.
Does it go both ways?
Yeah. Men get it goes both ways. Kelly Clarkson's paying her ex-husband a lot of money.
I had a way of living as the husband of Kelly Clarkson.
So, the marital standard matters, but the whole point of alimony is to help someone get back on their feet. And, in some people's cases, like, maybe like take a more traditional breadwinner man, and, part-time or stay-at-home mom, maybe they're a stay-at-home mom or part-time because of the children. Now, maybe the children are in college now, right?
Right.
So maybe that part-time or stay-at-home isn't really needed anymore. But so if that person has an education, they have a job, and they're making money, maybe alimony isn't as necessary anymore. But a lot of people will just, unfortunately, a lot of people will just try to get everything they can,
Right. Bleed the
and
system.
will use the argument that they sacrifice so you can succeed, and there's a value to that. But I mean, every case is different. I mean, I think that people do sometimes need money to get back on their feet. I think sometimes it's a little bit over exaggerated, and I think that's just because arguments get ugly, people get ugly, and that's just the way it is.
I honestly think that the courts have changed a little bit, and I've always been advised that if you're going through a separation, to get a female lawyer and a female judge, because they don't have the same patience. And it's funny to say that male judges oftentimes are older men who have a lot of traditional views and judgment in traditional manners. And for the women, you want a male judge often, and the other way around. But I just think that as society, I think that we should just learn to shake hands. That's the thing about relationships that I've always struggled with. And don't get me wrong, I've had my heart ripped from my chest at numerous occasions in my life, and have been totally heartbroken. And some of them were ugly. I'm not a perfect person. I've been angry. But at the end of the day, I've always been like, after some closure or whatever, like, shake hands, move on. Because it's why I spend so much time going through such detrimental pain and suffering and hate and anger, and just shake your hands. Yeah, we gave it, in some marriages, 20 years, 10, 15 years, whatever. My parents made it 15 and some change. But shake your hands and recuperate as much of your life back as you can, and start taking the next step forward, rather than knock out, drag out, Vietnam trench warfare that's unnecessary. That both people end up suffering for long periods of time. And it's like, it seems toxic to me. I never understood it. You know what I mean?
It's terribly toxic. I have a friend, he's a physician, and literally every single thing is another reason to get a lawyer involved. Like, every little thing. Oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you didn't do that. Oh, yeah. You want an extra day? Well, talk to my lawyer. And it's like,
that's crazy to me.
God.
That's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me.
Don't you just want to live your life?
I would throw hands over my motorcycle and my computer. Outside that, I don't take everything. My motorcycle, though, I would be pretty vindictive. I would figure I would like sell it to my buddy for 6 cents, and then now he owns it. Actually, I heard a story. A friend of ours, her dad and mom went through a pretty rough divorce, and this man liquidated all of his assets into cash, and then gave cash to numerous amount of his friends in the thousands, and just had them hide it. So then when there was separation, it did look like he was, what's the fancy word for insolvent? It's a fancy word, insolvent. He's insolvent. And that helped him a little bit, though I know he still ended up having to pay an arm and a leg. And then a girl I dated, her father and mom went through divorce, and he had to give her part of his company that he had created, and like $150,000 cash up front, all sorts of stuff. And like, they hate each other. Right. So don't do that,
it's
guys.
Ugly. It's ugly.
Don't be toxic.
Outside of the other thing I've heard is, I don't know if this is New Jersey or if it's a federal or national change, but alimony used to be taxable. So it's income. So it's the other spouse's income. So you get your paycheck, your taxes are out of it. You now hand a lump sum of money over to your spouse, and then that spouse gets taxed on it. So you can't get taxed on the same dollar twice. So you can be refunded the tax on the money you gave, because you already were taxed on it, and now they're getting taxed on it as income. So it's technically not your income because you gave it away.
Right.
You used to be able to get the tax back. Now you don't. Now, like, I was grandfathered in because that change occurred after my divorce went through. So there was a grandfathering in.
So you can't get taxed on the same dollar twice.
So now apparently, like, if you give alimony, you're taxed on it, you give it, and then that person does not get taxed. Wow. So you're paying the alimony and the tax. But that usually means maybe the alimony award is less, because it's basically how much money is coming out of one spouse's pocket.
That's true.
So,
it's no longer net.
That's one of the things, but
That's crazy. That's why you need a lawyer for that stuff. And they're
you
so
do.
expensive. You know what I mean? They're
It's
ruthlessly expensive.
it's worth it though, because you can get burned if you're not careful. I mean, I
Oh,
feel that I kind of rolled over and took more than I should have, because you're afraid. You're like, hey, I'm on my
it's
own.
stressful.
Stressful. I've got to rebuild my life. And this person saying, person's lawyer saying, like, we're gonna take everything from you. If you don't do this, and they're very threatening and they're very scary. Like, if you don't do
It's their
this,
job, though.
we're going after everything for your retirement. We're going after everything, and we're not going
Right.
to stop. And if you don't do it, we'll go to court. And we know the judge, and the judge usually sides this way. So you're going to be screwed. And it's like, they're like in your face.
But
It's
what's
rough.
funny about that? It's funny, and by no means am I a lawyer. Please don't take any of my legal advice, people watching. But I've always had a passion in law, and I have a couple of friends who are lawyers, and family members, extended family members who are on their way for right now. One of them's doing civil rights law school,
Mhm.
school for civil rights, stuff like that. So, and we have a judge in the family, actually, which can be a nice power move when you need somebody to do something, and then he calls on your behalf. People tend to be
Right.
lenient. Don't take advantage of that. But he did it on his own. Nobody asked. It wasn't even for me. It was for somebody else. But there's a lot of things you can do, and you understand. I feel like lawyers, their job is they're actors. A lot of a lawyer is theatrics, and if they can win through fear in the beginning in that litigation process, they're going to.
That's another
and in
tool in
court,
the box.
right? And if they say they know the judge, a lot of people don't realize, but you can actually file to have a different judge. A conflict
Right.
of interest is a huge no-no in a court of law. And if they do have any relation to the judge, like he says he does for whatever reason, you can file to have a different judge. Tell your lawyer that lawyer said that, whatever. And usually it's funny because lawyers know each other. And I've seen situations with buddies where one lawyer's like, listen, Tom, you're not fooling me, bro. Like, calm down. I know how you work. I'll see you at court. You know what I mean? So find a good lawyer, spend the money where you need to be. But how about just don't be toxic? Let's just go back to that roots.
Yeah.
And shake your hand, split your stuff, come up with the good things. And if you're the breadwinner and you're a good man, take some of that debt so that she can get on her feet without going on debt, and vice versa. Do what you
Right.
can to help each other. Just because it doesn't work out doesn't mean you have to hate each other. Help each other out.
I totally agree with that. The piece of advice I wanted to give everybody is, I know it's not traditional, but my gut has always told me it's a very good idea to live with a person that you're going to marry for a certain amount of time, so you kind of wear out that
without a
Sunday best. It's like, I'm
Out of doubt.
you act so much differently when you first meet somebody. You put your best foot forward. You want to seem funny and charming, and and willing and able, and most people are to a degree, but sometimes that stuff that's not like maybe your everyday, day in day out persona. And I think you need to know what that is for each other,
Absolutely.
because you don't want to be
Absolutely.
thinking like, oh, I got bait and switched. I thought I was getting this, and now I'm getting this. So that's helpful.
And
to me.
and that's 100% true. And that also goes for everything from in the bedroom to, living standards, everything under the sun. But at the same time, you need to be malleable in a relationship. No relationship works if two people are rigid. Because when the winds of trouble come blowing through and everybody's sitting up stiff as stone, you're going to get toppled over or collapse into each other. There has to be some malleability and some tolerance to certain things. Love the person you love. However, if they're a giant walking red flag, like this microphone, then maybe, cut your losses before marriage. But please, always get married if it is, because it can be very rewarding. I know a lot of people have had long, enduring marriages. I just met some the other day. It was like 60 years he's been married to his wife.
Jeez.
60 years. And they still do the things. And I promise you, I'm sure in that marriage, there was knockout, drag out, there was fights, divorce threats, probably even some separation at points, but they made it work. They made it happen. I think the hardest thing that I hear from young people is they have this illusion in their mind that like, it's just this glorious thing all the time. It's not. You stay with somebody for so many years, it's not that same feeling to you anymore that you did when you met them day one or day 365 or whatever. But my mother always had a couple of things she said that stuck with me as a young kid. And one of them was, there's a time where you go from romantic love to dedicated love. And a marriage is a very dedicated love, and it is work. There's gonna be times where you're like, I could just live alone in the mountains with a dog and sit on the porch and look at snowfall and have nobody in my ear. But what do you get from that?
The dog doesn't care how much Stray you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's a cat. He might be like, yo, what's going on over here?
Right.
But that's something too for people getting in marriages. You have to understand that you need to work. And some people have golden marriages, great, whatever. I'm glad that you live in some fairyland your whole life, but you're 1%. So everybody else,
Right.
make sure you're willing to take on that challenge, because it is a challenge and you will be challenged. And there'll be days where you're so sick of it on both sides too, because we can just be as crappy. So make sure you're willing to do that as well yourself. Your partner could say that, but are you willing to challenge it out? Are you willing to fight that war?
Right.
Because it is just that. It is a war.
Right.
With good benefits, because you don't do anything alone. And when things are collapsing, if you have the right spouse, you're doing it together. And there's a lot of benefits from it.
Right.
So count your cards, think about where you're at. But crazy stuff. Today's people are crazy. The world's so interesting. The relationships are interesting. And I hope we can, as society, get a better grasp on that problem, because I feel like, it's funny. I don't mean to digress too much, but I was out riding the other day with my buddy. The ladies had gone to a winery and they were been drinking since 11 o'clock. And so they were just like blasted. And my buddy came over and we were like, let's go ride. So we're riding around and the college kids are back in town. They're back for school starts next week. And we witnessed 3 breakups in public in the same night. We're sitting there like drinking, and they're like, guys walking away, and she's like, "Stop! Don't you leave! You get back here!" Like that kind of stuff. Or like two people talking, and the girl's like, "Ugh," and then turns on and walks away, and you're like, okay, we're watching this happen in real life, and we're like, it's just emotions. It's crazy.
It is
crazy. But anyways,
that's a lot from one day.
College kids are funny. Being a young kid is funny, I suppose. So emotionally driven.
So you are what? So we both bought Stray, by the way.
Yeah.
And,
so
I haven't been watching all of the episodes because I haven't gotten as far, and I don't want to see how to run the game. So how's that been going? I haven't watched it.
So I've always been I've always been really passionate about like single player story driven games, but I like fighting and combat in mind. So I usually don't play these like story driven games where it's it's not like shooting and banging with some RPG aspects. Like this is truly story driven. It's very interesting. And so a little background, I've never been an animal person. I grew up with some cats that I loved very dearly. One of them, when I left in my younger years, my mom had, and then she gave him away to somebody else and wouldn't give him to me. And then he died of old age. And I had no idea that he died, and it broke my heart. And then I had a cat, my late cat Tilly, who had melanoma of the face, who literally it was not a problem, and then it was a problem, like so fast to the face, like her face is swelling up. And we did Home to Heaven, and they came, I'm sure I've talked about this in other podcasts, but we had Home to Heaven come out, and they give her some sedatives, and they give her some pain meds, and then they give her the whatever drug, and maybe Doc, you know what that is, but they just die very peacefully. And I remember watching the bottom of her feet, their beans go from like a red to white, and I knew from my maybe experiences in life. And I'm not a crier, and maybe that's a crappy, what do they call it, toxic masculinity trait. I think in my longest relationship, which is the one I'm in now, for 7-8 years, maybe you've seen me cry once or twice. You know what I mean? And one of them was this cat, and it obviously is like a man tear, so it's like one. It's raining in my house. Don't look at me. Let me get my sunglasses. Right. But it hurt me, and something in my brain triggered overnight. I don't know what it was, but I have, ever since the passing of Tilly and seeing her suffer and all the things going on, something in my mind tripped, and I now have this unconditional love and passion for cats. And I've always been a bit of a cat dad. I've not been a cat weirdo, and I'm at the weirdo stage where, like, if I saw a cat in a gutter on the side of the street, you're coming home with me, bro. We're gonna take care of you. Like, I'll deal with the outcome of that. And I've actually considered doing a rescue, buying a barn dominion, and trying to do some sort of rescue for elderly people who, when they die, where do their animals go? Oftentimes to shelters. You know what I mean? Yeah. So why not a sanctuary where these animals can now live their lives in some comfort? Obviously, it's a pipe dream, but if I had the money or the ability to, something I could see myself doing. But nonetheless, Stray was intriguing to me because I love cats. I love cats. They've always been wonderful to me, and I wanted to play it. It was super interesting. But because I have a passion for cats, and because this game, the autonomy of the cats in the story, it's so good. The meowing and the sounds, the way the cat walks and everything's going on, I don't know, it like hits me in the feels. So For the first time, I'm playing a story game that I'm like having an emotional reaction to. I'm dedicated to the characters, the cat that you're playing as, and it's so interesting. It's such a unique, interesting story, and it's funny because the story progresses quick, but it's long. So even though you feel like you're moving fast, there's so much still to go. And I like that. It keeps you engaged. And the graphics aren't very intensive. It's not a very graphically intensive game, but it's a beautiful game. It's very gloomy and gray, and what is the word I'm looking for? Like dystopian. I call it, if you watch the videos, I call it LA. California in 2040. But it's a really good game, and I recommend it. Even if you're not a cat person, I really recommend it. I'm sure some guy will mod it for a dog at some point, but it's a good game. It's worth it. It's really cool to play from the eyes of this animal,
Yeah, I mean, it has great reviews on Steam. I feel it's kind of like puzzle based too. Different like tasks and things you have to accomplish. I don't know if you can get. Can you get different cat skins?
I wanted to be, because one of my cats is a black cat, Luna.
Me too.
And
that's my cat.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm suffering from dust as usual, living here in the Dust Bowl. But yeah, I wanted a black cat, and I was hoping I could switch there and switch it over, but no, you can't. I'm sure somebody will mod it. It's a texture replacer, but I would have preferred to play a black cat, because in my mind is the kind of person who gets immersed in video games by doing something that can connect the person to me. Playing as Luna, or like my Moo, my long-haired cat. That would have been fantastic. But at the same time, the ginger cat's fantastic. It's a cool game. I really recommend it, guys. And check out my video. I'm actually, after this podcast, Doc and I have some other things to do, and then I'm going to be doing episode 3. Because I want to play this game so bad, but I refuse to play it without recording it. So I got to make sure I have the time and place to get a recording in, and because I don't want to do anything that hasn't been seen. But game's a lot of fun, and I would totally throw hands for that cat, and if I could be in the game, I would just beat up robots all day to save that cat. It is what it is.
I totally agree with you. It's a very interesting concept. It's interesting of the cats like pulling out plugs and plugging things in. I thought that was funny.
Companion. Have you got the point where it meets the little drone?
Yes, I just got to that.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool, because like the game felt very lonely and dreary. And the little drone companion brought a little bit of sunshine into the game, because it gives you this new system, a bunch of mechanics that you didn't have prior, that give the game even more complexity for puzzle solving.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It was really cool to have like inventory on this cat.
Do you need to drink? Because I know you can scratch rugs. You can.
I don't think you need to. I think
puddles.
I did it.
Just immersion.
I can't find any bars or stuff that warns you of dehydration, and I think the idea is that it's trying to immerse you. Yeah, just immersion. Because I know my cats. So
gotta do cat things.
Yeah, you got to drink from fresh water. A lot of people don't know, but cups are communal in a home. If you have a true cat, cups are communal. Cats like water. If you see they drink and you drinking water, they go, that water's fresh. I'm gonna get some of that. Yeah, and I've learned to just let Luna and them drink. I know people are like, oh, that's gross, but whatever. If you have dogs, get out of here. But yeah,
I went. Also, we were talking about trips and dropping. We went to Indiana to drop my stepson off into college. So that was a hoot. But a month before that, we went on like what we felt was going to be like the last family vacation.
Gen Z trigger warning.
Right. And yeah, it's coming. So the reason behind that is that, kids are getting older, they're going to college, they're starting to do stuff with their own friends, they're not wanting to hang out with your parents as much, and that's like the natural progression.
They're getting their own lives.
Yeah, no issue with that. But we said, you know what? One of my kids, my daughter's going back to school to start her second year in college. My wife's son is going, 700 miles away to college. We still got 2 kids at home. Let's do one more family vacation, because 2 of them already didn't feel like going. They're like, Dad, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go. So like, you know what? Come on. One more time. Let's do this. So they go. So we decided to go on Norwegian Cruise Lines. And you have not been on a cruise. I think we talked about that.
No,
right?
yeah, I've never been on a cruise.
You don't like the water. But
yeah.
Yeah, just drink some whiskey. It'll be all right. But
yeah, I'll be all right.
But the situation is my kids have historically loved cruises. So we're going on a brand new boat, right? The boat's it has a go-kart racetrack on the top of it.
I spent my days there.
It has like 5 different water slides on it. It has 2 fully functional Starbucks in it. It has,
Of course it does,
a laser tag field on it. It has an entire 3D VR arcade in it.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
It has, it's specialized areas for different ages. It has, obviously pools, hot tubs. It has one huge hot tub in the back of it that holds like 28 to 35 people.
Holy moly.
It's huge. It's got this big nightclub outside with this big like screen on the back and lights and lasers and all this stuff. Bring my kids on it. And within 24 hours, they're like, this is stupid. This is so boring. And I'm like, and then I did what my parents did. You know what I did when I went on vacation? I was watching Lou Ferrigno and the Incredible Hulk at my house. And then we drove to Ocean City and I watched Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk at someone else's house. That was my vacation.
Yeah.
I would sit in bars like the Green Turtle and try not to slip on the freaking peanut shells on the floor. And I would keep my goddamn mouth shut. And then maybe if I was good, maybe I might be able to do a water slide or do a go-kart thing, go to the boardwalk maybe one night.
Yeah.
And that would be for me. But like these kids you're riding go-karts in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Who does that? Right?
Right.
And they're like, my son's like, it's too crowded. It's too hot. It's too muggy. It's too loud. It's too dangerous. I'm like, it's dangerous? He's like, yeah, you're in a boat. It could sink.
Very unlikely, by the way.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
There's nothing really to do. The lines of the water slide are too long. And I'm like,
it's just excuses. I promise you, young man, the engineers who built this boat right. They're not gonna, you know what I mean?
This ain't the Titanic, hopefully.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if you saw in the news, like a Norwegian boat like hit a freaking iceberg, and I'm like, you don't have means of determining like that an iceberg is around? I assume that they would have like sonar or some sort of monitoring device.
They do.
Literally hit the freaking boat. If you Google it, there's an easy video to watch.
But the boat probably took it like a champ and just kept on.
The boat took it, yeah. But anyway, so it didn't end up being as great of a vacation as I wanted it to be. But my kids, we even brought them jet skiing in Bermuda. We went on this huge like party boat that had like these areas to jump off into the water that literally were like higher than the height of a house, into the water. Slides, everything. So a couple of the kids. Media, though. My daughter enjoyed it. But she's a little older. But everyone else are like, I don't need to go on any more of these. I'm like, all right. So that was the last probably full family vacation that I can foresee for a while until maybe they're older.
That's what I say. Pump the brakes till they're older, because now as a grown man, when the family wants to go, like we're gonna go to Costa Rica, I'm gonna get so wasted in a pool. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and I think that means something. Like when kids, like say when they're on the boat, I mean, I have 4 different kids of 4 different ages. You got a 20 or 19-year-old who could technically drink in international waters if I give them a letter. So I let her have like a glass of wine or a beer. And in Bermuda, the legal drinking age is 18.
Oh, so free game.
Right. So you literally have that. Then you have like an age to be in the teen club that ends at 19, but then 18, but the one who wants to go now can't go because the other one's 19 and not 18 and they won't let them in. So there's all these age-related things. Like to enjoy it, I think you need to have like full reign. Like you need to be able to do everything and go everywhere and that there's nothing holding you back. And that might be a different situation too.
Yeah, but I'm about to sound like a modern boomer, or maybe a boomer in general. But we grew up at a different time. My dad would have beat the snot out of me as a kid if I was like, I don't want to do none of this. I hate everything. I just want to stare at my MySpace, which I didn't have remotely at my age, at that age, I suppose. But some of it I think is that you build the standard. Like these kids have their social media in their groups and things they enjoy, and that age they don't have the ability to. They haven't been beat down by life yet to enjoy going on a go-kart in the middle of the ocean on a boat.
Right.
And that comes later, yeah,
they were
maturity.
They're like, so like, a lot of times when you get on a cruise, they have like a package, right? They have something that they'll give to you. Like, oh, you get like to eat at the specialty restaurants, you get the free alcohol or whatever. So we had like the internet package. And it's like 120 minutes. And
which is so weird to me. It's a way to milk the dollar.
My kids are like, what do you mean 120 minutes? I'm like, well, you log in, you're on the internet, and then when you're done, you log out, and then you're off the internet. And they're like, that's stupid. I'm like, well, I don't make the rules. That's the way it is.
I agree with you, but nothing we can do about it.
And they're like, what if I log in and I don't actually use it? Like they're thinking like megabyte data. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You log in and you go to sleep and you log out, it's gone. It's just time connected. This is dumb. Can't you just like order unlimited? and they literally want like just unlimited internet because they can't stand the fact that they're disconnected.
Yeah, that's understandable. They want to Instagram and stuff. I mean, like, don't be a snotty shit, Doc's kids talking to you. But at the same time, I also understand the disconnect. You know what I mean? Like, I was like download GTA on my iPad because when I'd go to like the family, with my lady to her family, I'm like, I got to play a video game. I can't just do everything you guys want to do all the time and come home and then watch Christmas Vacation for the 90th time, which is a great movie. Don't take me wrong. Right. I got to play a video game. You know what I mean? So everybody goes to bed. I'm like out there drinking a Jack and Coke in the living room playing GTA on my iPad. But
were you playing GT what?
GTA, Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, Grand Theft. Okay.
But yeah, so like I get it, but at the same time, the entitlement is the problem. Like it's okay to be bummed out of internet, but just be excited when you get to go back and have it. Take photos, get involved, do that social media presence that you want to show everybody. How would your friends really think you're this cool bombshell person if you actually hate your vacations that people wish they were on? You know what I mean? But with your parents too. I guess at that age, I would rather fucking die in the desert on a horse with no name than be with my parents.
Yeah, I get it.
But that changes. I promise you that changes.
I take my mom and she loves it. So that part's.
I'd be like,
and I love it.
I mean, but that's the thing. It'll change. I promise you. The minute they get to an older age and everybody gets recuperated and they're adults and they get all that stuff cycled back in, the family vacations are funner because everybody can get hammered together. Like my family likes to sit around and play 80s songs, and because they're all, they grew up from the 70s, 80s, and I didn't, I like to stump them by playing music that I know from that era. And so far I have not won, rightfully so. But it's fun to like play obscure songs, and see if they know it, Mexican radio and things like that, that people don't normally know. And they're like, oh, speaking of Stray.
Nope.
But yeah, so sorry about that. Sucks that they that's what it was. But it's just that now. It's just the age. Just the age, the timing. And the kids of this generation.
Right. And I think that just sucks because one, it's pretty freaking expensive. And on top of that, like you go into this like imagining like it's gonna go a certain way, and then it doesn't go that way, and then that's what kind of sucks.
Burns gas.
Someday,
yeah, well,
someday it'll be different.
I mean, hopefully. They're just lucky to have the things that they have and grew up the way that they did, because none of us didn't. And at someday they'll realize that. I feel like every kid goes there, they're like, I should have been nicer to dad on that vacation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It'll come.
You wrote down. You wrote down in our show notes that you wanted to talk about a TV show. What did you want to talk about? Oh, yes.
Okay, so I actually just discovered this TV show. The missus was like, hey, I got this TV show I was starting to watch. I kind of want to watch it with you. So for a lot of us, we remember Katrina, right? And New Orleans just getting absolutely wrecked by it. and then getting through it, and then the levees breaking, and the city of New Orleans just getting absolutely destroyed, right?
Right.
Well, what I did know about that is that there was a hospital in New Orleans called Memorial Hospital where like people died by the tent, like 45, 50, 60 people died. The hospital had no evacuation plan for flooding in a city that literally has pumps because it floods.
Right.
And some like breakdown and stuff. And it was very interesting to watch this TV show about this hospital. That's the ER and ICU. It has another hospital built into it that's a long-term care facility called Life Care that didn't have any doctors there, but they're an independent hospital, and they're like expecting this one hospital to help them out, but this other hospital's like, you're your own hospital, we don't have to help you out, you know what I mean? And just like the weird stuff, and then like the business stuff side of it, and like how, you know, the parent company like wasn't helping them. And I don't know, I want you to watch it. I think you should watch it. It's an Apple Plus, so I know you have it. Apple TV Plus TV show. And for those who may not have Apple, I recommend their TV service, because Apple Plus has made some of the best TV shows and movies I've ever, like, they're fantastic. They're better than AAA Hollywood, you know, Warner Brother movies. There's that one with Tom Hanks and the robot and the apocalypse or whatever.
That was fantastic.
It's phenomenal. And I had no idea. I thought this was like a Warner Brothers production. It was like Apple TV. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. They have a ton of great shows. And so when I saw this with Apple TV, I was like, I knew it. And the quality is exactly what you'd expect. But it's supposed to be real, based off the real things as Memorial Hospital. And what's even creepier about it,
5 Days at Memorial, is that what it's called?
Yeah. That's gotta be it. But it's crazy because when I would go to visit New Orleans, it's still there. It's just condemned. It's just like wrapped in this fence, and like nobody wants nothing to do with it. Like somebody owns it, but nothing's being done with it. And it's just weird to me, because in society, we always look at hospitals, even in America's broken healthcare, we look at hospitals like this pinnacle beacon of life, that like in no situation, if you can get to a hospital, you're probably in good hands, because everything there is necessary to save your life and protect you. And because it's there to save lives, it's protected. But to watch this hospital not have any evacuation plans, to watch the federal government absolutely fail them, the National Guard fail them, nobody there to help them, and just the absolute state of chaos, and these people dying from things that never would have happened if they would have had power, you know, because the basement's flooding. That's where all the generators are and stuff, you know. So like, it's crazy to me. And having a family that works in healthcare, you know, it's interesting to hear their side, and friends, you know, like yourself. So I think you should watch it.
I'm going to have to watch it. I have not watched it, but I can tell you that most hospitals are supposed to have disaster planning. They're supposed to have policies and requirement of some sort. But
they have policies for literally everything except flooding.
Oh, well, that's a problem. Well, that's just bad planning. I mean, you're in New Orleans. I mean, that's
and your backup generators in the basement. It's crazy. Watch it and let me know.
I will. But I mean, yeah, obviously, I'm sure like no hospital in the area doesn't have a flooding plan now, but it's just interesting because it's like the breakdown of society at that level. I mean, it's like, if you don't have an actual plan, you can't verify that the plan's going to work, because what's also required, not only having disaster planning, but you have to practice it. They model these things. They model active shooter scenarios. They model, a baby getting stolen out of the nursery. They model what ends up happening if there's some sort of mass disaster and 14 school buses full of kids get into a massive accident. And how are they going to handle this overflow of patients? That's all practiced. And, you know, to try to come up with something on the fly as it's happening, that's hard. Because, you know, you need staff, you still need electricity, generators, obviously, if in the basement, that's shot. And then you need to get sick people out of there. And if you're flooded, I don't know how that's going to happen. So I don't know.
You got to watch it.
No, I just put it up on the website, and I'm not hearing any of the audio. I just see the trailer. I think this is the girl from all the James Wan movies. This is
the head nurse.
This is Lorraine Warren. Remember Ed and Lorraine Warren?
I knew she was famous. I'm watching the TV show. I'm like, I know this woman from somewhere.
Yeah. And it looks good.
She's also in No Country for Old Men, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
I think so. I have to verify that. But yeah, you should watch it. And then even so force me with my military knowledge and things like that and experience.
Mhm.
I was blown away by the National Guard's absolute lack, because like a lot of people don't know, but combat engineers are subsequently part of the Army Corps of Engineers. And when COVID hit, a lot of you guys saw them turn stadiums into full-fledged hospitals in days. In days, right?
Right.
That's what they're tasked to do. That's the whole purpose behind it. Not only can they defend because they're combat engineers, but they can turn around and can do vertical construction. And it blew my mind that like the Army is not in there with combat engineers getting everything they can, because a little bit of flooding, sure, that's great, but we're the United States military. We can deal with some flooding. We can get people to hospital. We can do what we need to do to get people out. And the government's absolute failure, the Bush administration, failed to save these people. And I knew Katrina was rough, but it's crazy to see it from this medical standpoint. So yeah, it's crazy. There's like a lot of crazy stuff going on, and and of course emotions get in play, and people like, you really see, you want to talk about living with somebody, figure out who they are, put somebody through a situation of life and death, and you're going to quickly realize who they are,
right,
and what they're capable of. So yeah, it's worth a watch it and let me know behind the scenes, and then we'll do a review on a podcast, because I don't want to wait till a podcast to know what you think. I gotta know beforehand, but we can recover. We can go over it on a podcast.
I'll definitely check. I didn't even know this show was even there.
Yeah, I
just come out, or is this been out?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. But like I had made us stop watching it because like there's only like 5 episodes and we're 3 deep, and I was like, I could binge this. It was that good. You know what I mean?
This is like Chernobyl.
Oh, Chernobyl's Chernobyl's fantastic. Yeah, and you guys should watch that too. And I did a bunch of research on that in high school, so like I was ready for the facts. But it was cool to see it in a show, because they did pretty good. They nailed it pretty accurately in that show. But yeah, watch that. Let me know. Watch that and let me know. Now, switching gears a little bit, because I know we are running on some time. I know some of our podcasts are getting longer, but I know from this fancy thing dangling in the screen here that you have done a little bit of overhaul. And for those who don't know, Doc was doing the virtual audio cable shenanigans, which is just wire mess digitally.
Yeah, it is.
So you've changed. You got some new stuff.
I did. I'm still in the process of changing. I'm like, one of the reasons why I haven't done even videos on my other channel is because I'm just slowly, first of all, life, right? Work, trying to go away. And then I'm like turning over all this stuff. One of the cool things I didn't realize was that the MasterCard, I have like the Norwegian MasterCard. So when I paid for these cruises, I get points. I didn't even realize I get points. I get an email and they're like, your points are about to expire. You need to cash them in. So I go on the website. I'm like, oh, okay, what could I get?
Doc goes on a lot of cruises.
Yeah, I know. We're having a sale on gift cards. And it's like X amount of points is equal to $1 in a gift card, right? Yeah. And they're like, well, if you get Best Buy, we're going to give you 20% more money. I'm like,
Don't
so
threaten me with a good time.
Right. So I because I put like 4 cruises on this card over the years. I had like 2 cruises. I had like $750 of Best Buy gift cards just like shipped into me.
Oh my God. I look like a kid in a candy store.
I know. So I went and I found this thing called the Rode Podcaster. So Rode, if you don't know, they're a microphone company. Yeah. They make mics. They do, I think, a headset or 2.
Great mics. Great mic. Industry standards. So unfortunately, this is a blue mic, but the Rode Podcaster is basically a tabletop mixer. It allows you to plug in 4 different mics, 4 different headphones. It has a pad for like audio sound effects, queuing up music. It has slider bars for all these different inputs. It allows you to have 2 audio interfaces with your PC, actually 3 audio interfaces with your PC, so that you can interface this with your computer. It can become your mic, it can become your speakers, and then of course all the fun, cool stuff you do with mixing and all the different channels could go in and out. The issue is that it doesn't use USB mics. It uses old-fashioned, I forget what's the name? You can see it here. Oh, the XLR. Yeah, that's an XLR.
Yeah. So I had to get a new mic. So that's one of the reasons why I got rid of my Elgato Wave 3. Sold that. Quality is just much better, and it'll be interesting to hear this podcast because this is the first one we're recording with this mic and then this unit. So we'll see how it goes. But they update this thing like every couple of weeks with new firmware. They keep adding new features to it, and it's just super easy to use. And I don't have to use up computer resources to do it because it's its own little device.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works out well.
Rode's a great brand. They make phenomenal mics. A lot of people don't know, but yeah, that virtual audio cable stuff can be very demanding on your computer. And if anything hinders that, it just ruins the audio. Things get out of sync, and it can be horrible for video and recording. So I'm interested to see how you enjoy that. And honestly, guys, I don't even know what he sounds like because Doc and I actually communicate through Discord for the latency. It's a lot better. And so I'm hearing him through his headset mic and not the fancy mic on his desk. So we're going to hear that one together.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I actually want to do a video on it when I have the time. So
I know. And guys, understand too, I mean, summer's coming down here in the next couple of months, at least for me in this side of the world. And the winter time was going to pick up a lot of home time for me because the world slows down in Colorado when it turns -15 outside. So, it's going to pick up in the wintertime. Will pick up for sure.
Absolutely.
For a lot for gaming for the group and things like that, and Doc and myself. But we both work really long hours. I can't even compete with Doc, but as an engineer, I work stupid hours, and he works words beyond stupid can encompass hours. So
I came home from work today and just took the scrubs off, put on a sweatshirt, put on a cup of coffee, boom.
Yeah, Doc was willing to get brain amoebas from his Navage for relief. That's how tired he was. So bear with us, guys, because Doc and I have been friends for a long time. We play games together all the time, and we've been playing games together for years, non-stop. And recently, with how busy I've been and how busy he's been, I don't think we've played a game together in a while. And actually, I feel bad because Dak has messaged me and Tap has messaged me, and it's like, guys, by the time you get home, I'm exhausted, and I just want to lay on the floor and watch TikToks like the drug that it is until I fall asleep.
Right.
So
yeah, we'll definitely
but summer's
turn
coming
that
to an
around.
end. Yeah, and the wintertime slows down for my work as well, and I can't go anywhere in the evenings, and I don't have all these things I need to do, and everybody's stuck at home, and I'm not being required to do all this crazy stuff, and so then I end up getting a lot of free time, and that ends up going right here in this box that I'm sitting in front of. And I'm excited because there's some really cool games coming out, and I want to take advantage of those in the winter.
Absolutely.
So, I want to talk to you guys about the graphics card stuff coming up with Intel. I know there's been some rumor. The rumor mill's always turning. So don't crap on Intel cards yet. I'm Intel fanboy, so there's some biasism there. Bias, is that the right word? But they're working hard. Intel's working really hard to get that dialed in, and there's been scenarios now that we've seen on Linus that showing that it being phenomenal for its price point. And so I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, and some enthusiast CPUs are coming out soon for my kind of builds that I have. I'm really excited for it. In the wintertime, if the world permits it with the economy and everything going on, I want to do a new build on the 12th gen enthusiast socket stuff that should be coming around the corner here soon. And yeah, and episode 3 coming from Stray. I'm going to continue the reverse engineering of that torrent file package stuff that I was doing. And then hopefully we can find a game to play that's not Tarkov. I can't play anymore. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, I get it. It's painful.
I get it.
We gotta find something.
And I actually pre-ordered the Samsung Arc. I didn't pre-order it. I reserved the Samsung. What is it? The
VR headset.
No. The big monitor. The I'm sorry. It's the Samsung Odyssey Arc. 52 or 54 inches.
Holy moly.
Like 55. And the thing about this is it allows you to put like different things on the screen at once, and you can dial down the size of one thing on the screen, increase other things on the screen. There's some kind of big process that does that.
Firmware, internals.
Yeah. So we'll see how that is. I'm always on the lookout for a monitor that does everything I want it to do. So hopefully this is it, because it's not cheap. So we'll see. No,
I need a new monitor too coming up, because this weird monitor. So I have 3 monitors, and someday I'll maybe do a desk when I can clean it up and does look like an engineer's rat nest. The monitor on my right is a great monitor, but it does something where it fights with my video cards. and it'll freeze and cause my video card to do weird stuff. And it's not my video cards, because I've done this with 3 different cards now, and it's definitely just this
only
monitor.
that monitor.
If I unplug it, everything's fine. So it's time to go on. I'm a little disappointed, LG. I expected better of you, but I would love to get a new monitor, and I love the encompassing, especially for my work. The more space, the better for me in my field. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, and we're always looking for new games, guys. I'm always looking for new games. I'm always looking for MMOs, story-driven RPGs. Doc and I are not competitive gamers like we used to be, but I think him and I do well together in those fun kind of RPG style or some sort of cooperative story-driven game or something that we can find together. So if you guys have something, let us know. Please let us know.
Absolutely.
And we'll go from there.
And make sure you follow Damo and myself on social media. We always put our handles in the video description. Certainly like and subscribe to this channel as well as our personal channels. And not only that, I mean, you can listen to this on right now. I think it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's now on iHeartRadio, it's on Apple Podcasts, and it's on Google Podcasts, which is different from YouTube, obviously. So there are 5 or 6 different methods of seeing this podcast. So definitely
listen to your car, listen to your commute. Yeah. You know what I mean? Listen to me babble and sound like a buffoon. But, I'll never be Joe Rogan. But at this point, who wants to download Spotify for that anyway? So unless you're listening to us, then it's different, obviously. But yeah, hang out. Please like us. Please follow the channel. I promise, guys, more content is coming. I know I've said that 2 podcasts in a row. It's just summer has been crazy. This has been my busiest summer in 2 years, 3 years. So winter time's coming. Winter is coming. And comes more content. So
absolutely. All right, guys. Till next time.
Until next time.